The world is full of uncertainty, especially for full-time RVers. So in this video, we're going to share 8 reasons why if you RV full-time, you should definitely consider caravanning.
Welcome back to the RV Odd Couple. My name is John.
And I'm Mercedes, and long story short, we sold most of our possessions in pursuit of freedom, independence, and adventure.
Because life is so short, guys.
It really is.
As beautiful as it is to RV around America, it does have a certain amount of loneliness to it and isolation. You know, Mercedes and I know this very well because we were isolated for 11 months, along with most of the rest of the country in 2020. It's been a crazy year. But I think it's important to share with you guys that we started RVing with another couple about 6 weeks ago, and it's kind of changed the entire experience. We are starting to consider never RVing alone again. So just a little background on the people that we're RVing with. They're members of the RV Odd Squad. They started watching our videos, and just like has happened to us in the past 2 years, some of our closest friends are people
RV Odd Squad
members, people we've met on the road.
Yeah.
They really are our family on the road. And we're building more and more relationships. So please, if you're new here, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment. So we're sharing our journey with you, but leave us a comment and share your journey with us so we can get to know you. Now, we find that by nature, RVers are kind of natural social distances as it is. But there's also the other half that likes the camaraderie.
So here are 8 reasons why we will never RV solo again.
And 2 of these are probably going to blow your mind, and I bet you never ever considered them.
So the first reason that you have to RV in a caravan, especially for 2021, is the buddy system. Now more than ever, it's so important that someone knows where you're at all times. Even just driving through a big city can be potentially dangerous because things are just so uncertain.
I spent most of my youth in the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts, and they talked about the buddy system, right? The importance of buddying up with somebody else when you travel or you go on another adventure. This is so important that we didn't realize how important it was until we started traveling with another couple.
You know, especially our first year of RVing, we had a calendar with our reservations and we shared that with our family. So our family always knew kind of where we were staying. But it's very different having someone traveling alongside you in a separate vehicle. That adds another layer of safety because, you know, between destinations, a lot can happen. I mean, you can have tire blowouts, you can have mechanical issues. We've had those things happen before, actually. Yeah. And so having someone else that's like alongside you, especially with all this uncertainty and all this craziness, that's so important. And this ties into the second reason why caravanning is so important, especially now for RVers. You see, you have an extra set of eyes for your loved ones. Sometimes you're not so worried about your own safety, but you're worried about those you love's safety. Like, for example, we recently went hiking at Soldiers Pass. And
which is amazing.
But there's no way John and I would have been able to do that, just the 2 of us. So having an extra 2 adults there totally changed everything.
It did, and it's actually the first hike we've been able to do. I mean, a tough hike.
Yeah.
Since we've had Sage with us. And having that extra set of hands to kind of watch out for our kid and have our back, it's just priceless.
Well, and not only that, but I can leave John unsupervised now and know that he's okay because he has other adults watching him. If you're camping out in BLM land, it's very important to not do it alone, to have someone there that you trust. But even in an RV park, having friends can be really helpful.
But when you have a buddy with you, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but sometimes when you get out in really remote areas, you can come across some people that look kind of shady. You know, those places where there's not a lot of civilization is also a place for people to hide. Going in there by yourself can make you a little bit more nervous and unsure of yourself, but when you've got somebody behind you with a winch, you know you're going to be fine.
The third reason it's really important to caravan in an RV is especially nowadays for mental health reasons.
Everything I think, I actually believe, and it's always nice to bounce my ideas off of another male.
Because I tell him all the time not to believe what he's thinking, but he believes it more when someone else
I
tells
do,
him.
I believe everything I think. So it's always nice to have another male and just bounce those ideas and thoughts off of it. And I don't have to talk about the craziness of what's going on in the world right now with my wife.
Sometimes it's just shop talk.
Simple shop talk, you know, having somebody to bounce things off that Mercedes just doesn't know a lot about.
Or I don't care.
She's not interested and doesn't care about
I really don't care about some of this stuff.
And so
the social distancing has really kept us far away from our friends. And so caravanning is really nice because you're kind of in a family unit together, but you still have your separate space.
Well, we spent Thanksgiving with those guys. We broke bread with them.
The fourth benefit is shared resources.
Yeah. You know, now, since we took the Class C, I don't have even close to the amount of tools that gives me that peace of mind and security, that warm little fuzzy blanket that I know I've got the tool for the job. Now I've got Jason across the street who pretty much has everything that I don't. Likewise, some of the things that he needs, I have.
So Jason is your warm fuzzy blanket.
Jason is my warm fuzzy blanket because if I don't have that strange angled monkey wrench, Jason will.
Oh my goodness. Well, the other reason that I think this is really important is that, you know, there's sometimes food shortages and, you know, things are really, the supply chain is still messed up. And so just having another family there that, like, if you need something, you can go next door and ask. It's kind of like what neighborhoods used to be like,
right.
You know?
But it's just nice to have a resource right next door that you're not uncomfortable to ask for something that you might need.
And if things get tough, it's also nice knowing that there's someone there that you could potentially share resources with, so you won't go hungry.
Yeah, and guys, we should all know from 2020, we had a dry test run when the whole economy shut down and there was no toilet paper and there was parks closing and people, our full-time RVers were stuck out on the road. So obviously you should have a plan for what's going to happen if the next thing drops, right? If either one of us has ever headed to the store, it's a quick text or a phone call, hey, I'm heading down, you guys need anything? And it's just nice to be able to offer that help and to get it back. And with that said, when you're RVing and you do start to get to know the neighbors in your park and you see people that are alone, try to make an effort to reach out to them and make them know that you're there if they need them. But we're doing some cool things, like we're actually looking at long-term food storage that we'll be able to store extra dry good food over the top of the cab in our truck. They've got a place for it as well, and we can buy more food and share those resources together so that if things do hit the fan, I've got a brother to have my back in more ways than one.
And since I'm trying to eat healthy, John can store all of his like unhealthy creamer and all of his candy and all of his late night munchy foods that I don't know how he gets away with eating these and has no repercussions. He can store all of that in their RV.
Yeah, you guys may not realize this, but I am not allowed to keep creamer or donuts or cookies in the RV. Why?
Because
Mercedes finds them and she eats them, so she gets really mad at me when I get them.
I know.
Plus, I never get to eat any of them. So it's kind of nice to have a refrigerator next door where I can store my creamer, I can store my donuts, I can store
sure they really appreciate
my good
that.
stuff. And of course, I have my own stash in the truck too. But it's just kind of nice to have that. Another reason is pretty simply help with the mundane, right? Recently, we had to get some work done on the Jeep. Now, when you're a full-time RVer and you're by yourself, you better be friendly to your neighbors because you're probably going to need a ride for something. Even if, God forbid, we were able, had something go wrong with our RV, you don't have another house. You're going to either end up in a hotel or hopefully with a neighbor. So now I'm not so sure that Jason and Amy feel that way about us at this point to let us sleep on their couch, especially with our dog and Sage, but I bet you they would if we got hung up.
I don't know about that, but definitely when you're figuring out the logistics, you see, because when you RV full-time, the logistics of like getting a tire replaced in your tow vehicle or, oil change, those types of things
just had a shot go.
Yeah, they become a lot more complicated, right? So having two people like that can help you with those sorts of things is really, really helpful.
Yeah, in the past we've needed an Uber or a taxi, and now we just got to call across the street.
Very, very nice. The next reason caravanning is so important is that you make each other better. Yeah. You can borrow and pull from your different strengths and weaknesses and hopefully like lean into each other's strengths. One of the things that our friends have that's really strong is they have a good sense of routine, So they've been a good influence on us. And I know we haven't been a good influence on them. You're storing all
they
of your
would say
candy there.
that we have been a good influence on them because their schedule is a little bit different. They work 40 or 50 hours a week during the day and they take the weekends off.
Yeah.
So during the week, we'll pull them out, you know.
Make them explore a little more.
Explore a little bit more at the end of the day. And on the weekends, they force us to go out. Yeah. All of us have our own kind of neat little talent or something that, you know, special gift. And we're bringing it to the table, and it's just making the adventure all that more easy. Giving and receiving is the same thing.
Yep.
It's just as good to give and feels as good as it does to receive. Mm-hmm. And so we're kind of forming this kind of teamwork stuff, not just Mercedes and I, which we've been doing for 2 years, but with another couple that knows how to RV full time. We're living the same lifestyle and we're getting to experience things together.
Well, and the next reason ties into that because we're not just helping each other be better because we're all kind of like working towards the same goal.
Yeah.
But I think we're actually enjoying locations better. And here's why. So like, let's say we go out and explore and we try this restaurant and we have a great experience there. Well, then we can say, hey, you got to check out this place. And the opposite has happened too, where we've gone to a place and we're like, hey, don't bother. Don't waste your time.
Right.
So it's almost like you get to see and enjoy more places because you don't always know where the treasures are.
Right.
So having two families like looking for the treasures makes sure that you don't miss any of them.
Yeah, in our schedule, we don't do every single thing together.
No, but we share about it.
We share about it. So they'll go one way, we'll go another way, and we'll take pictures and we'll share the photos with each other. And we'll talk about, hey, we went to a place last week that we brought them out to 2 days ago because it was just so beautiful.
Exactly.
We spent 4 hours down there, just like they brought us to a place that they had been to the week before. So it's really cool to have a team that will recon, share their experiences, and kind of weed out the places to go and not to go.
Well, or places that maybe are beautiful, but they're like, hey, we wouldn't recommend that you go there with a 5-year-old.
Right.
Because the ledges and the danger. And so having that buffer, super helpful. The next reason why it's so important to caravan, especially in 2021, and perhaps the most important reason, is that you can better manipulate your spouse if you're not the only one working them.
This is so true. It's funny because, we're forming these alliances to watch each other's back.
He wants to convince me of something. He'll be like, hey, Jason, mention this to Mercedes. And then if I want to convince John of something, I mean, I can't convince him of anything. It's like I'm speaking German, right? So I'm just like, hey, Amy, mention this to John. And she does, and John hears it. He completely understands what she said, but if I had said it, he wouldn't hear it.
Yeah, and it's all in good fun, right? It's just the four of us sitting around, and I'll be lobbying Mercedes for something that I want or, want a place that I want to go. And it's always nice to have Jason on my side, just kind of lobbying back. And then also have Amy jump in on Mercedes' side.
Oh,
right?
She helps the sister out. She's like, no, John, you're misbehaving right now. Don't say that, John. So she helps me out too.
Well, if you can't tell, caravanning to us has changed our experience at a time that couldn't be better than it is right now. It's been a trying year in 2020, and we're just having a blast doing it. We like it so much that we'll probably never be by ourselves again. We'll start looking for other RV Odd Squad members in our location and saying, hey, let's spend 3 weeks together, because that's how much we love it.
Now, make no mistake, we are having a blast caravanning, and we highly recommend it, especially with what's coming up in the future.
But
it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and there are some things that can go wrong.
The honeymoon is over with Jason and Amy, man. We've been together 6 weeks now, so in our next video, we're going to share with you the things not to do if you're caravanning with somebody else, right? Caravanning etiquette.
Yeah.
See you in the next video.